Hi all, welcome to this LogicApps learning video series. In this video, we are going to deep dive on the unit testing to test LogicApp standard workflows. So here I am going to be create a brand new API, which is going to be a Moments API. For that, I'm going to create a LogicApps folder. In it, we are going to create LogicApps first. So open folder. Let's create the logic apps first, then write unit test cases on top of it. So now let's go to the extension Azure, then create a new project. Let's create a stateful workflow first, then we'll create a stateless workflow as well. Now it is done. Now let's create another workflow, which is stateless. Okay, both the workflows are created. Now let's go on. Let's open it in the designer. You can skip it for now and request. The HTTP request will be received, and the compose component to create a JSON structure. It is a static value I'm pushing through. Success. Okay, then a response component. Here you go. The output of the compose component. That's it. Let's save this workflow. It's successful. So that means we don't have any errors. Then open the other stateless one. Request. And then a response. Response component. Let's hard code the way. Okay. Let's hard code the JSON structure here itself. Okay, done. Save this guy. Run it by hitting F5. Okay, I have two URIs. And how did you get the trigger URL? Like this. Go to there and give an overview. I got the first URL. Open any browser because it's a get. So here you go. We got it. Now refresh. You'll be seeing history of it. So we are good. So now I'm going to stop this and write a unit test for this, right? So in order to write unit test cases, I want you to go here. So unit test cases, I have checked in the code as well. So go to the unit tests, to the LA1 and get the project file because it's not created by default. So let's copy this, come back to the code and add a CS project file for this LogicApps. Let's call it as LogicApps.cs project file. It'll be empty, paste it. So here is the thing. We need to copy this workflows manually, meaning we should do that as part of the CS project file. Save it, and then we are good. So add a next folder. Come here, open another VS Code. So your Logic App related files will be in the Logic Apps folder. Let's create a unit test directory. We can use command prompt to create unit test cases, or we can copy it from the this directory as well. Go to the unit test cases, open CS project file, copy it, or download it into your local and get it copied, right? So I have it here. I'm going to copy this project file, this folder, to here. And the testing framework, which I have built it and pushed it to NuGet, which is available on this namespace. So you can copy this and include it so that you can get rid of the testing framework running in local. Until and unless if you want to debug locally, then you might have it. You might want to have it. So unit test cases, right click into the notepad. So I'm going to remove this testing framework given by Microsoft, delete, because this is already available through NuGet. I'm going to use that. So which is done now. I need a solution file, so I'll copy the solution file. For example, this is called LASA1, LA1, which I'll keep it here. So let's open it in the Notepad++ and see that this testing framework is not needed almost anywhere. So I'm going to remove that. Save this. Now I have installed the Visual Studio IDE. I'm going to use that and open, but in theory we can use it here as well. So open folder, Moments API. So we got the unit tests here. I have got 2 unit test cases. So if you go to this LogicApps and see, you can build it because you have a project file now, CS project file. Let's do that. Let's go to LogicApps and see the project file. Now you can build it. .NET build -c release. Okay, that's done. Now we're going to publish this and see how that is getting published. This will be published in the bin release directory. Let's have a look at it. What is there inside? So we have host file, local.setting file, whatever available stateful one file. So that we are going to copy it. That will be getting copied when you refer them into your project. So let's examine the testing framework that have it here, and LACS project file, which is wrong. That we're going to add it as this file, right? So that is why we should open this in the Visual Studio, or we can do it here as well. So let's call it as LogicApps, and the name of the project file is LogicApps as well. Let's save this guy. Now we are good, but still it complains about the test framework. Let's build and see what is the problem here. See test frame or unit tests .NET build. Probably the NuGet is not available. I'm not sure, but it is getting successfully built. Okay, once you build, this is gone. So it's able to get the correct information here. So now we got the build here. Go there, .NET test in order to run the unit test cases. So in this unit test case, what we have done, we are checking whether for the stateless one, we are checking only three of them, whether the services works fine, whether it returns a response code is okay, and the code that we written from the API having the success response. That's what. So this is getting run behind the scenes. The testing framework which we have referred through NuGet is actually hosting a function app runtime and then hosting the workflow that we have developed in the new project. So while it's getting developed, deployed, so we have a stateful workflow as well. We're getting tested. So in order to while hosting, we would need to send this workflow details like workflow definitions that we intend to test and the host local dot setting file. Probably if you have parameters, then you might have to send the parameters using this class. So this class actually accepts few more details like parameters.json. So this is having extended testing as well, apart from the response code and the response as well. It is checking the run status. Only the stateful will be storing the information about this run history in the storage account that we run it in Azure, right? Uh, so using that, we are checking whether the overall workflow is successful, and we are getting the run ID out of it and checking that even that is successful, and we are fetching a compose component is successful or not. Like that, we can write various test cases. Let's go here and see this. So you're seeing that two test cases that we write is successful and passed it. So now we go to this testing and refresh it, which if you don't have a solution file, it does not work. So it probably it has a problem with the solution file that we need to check. So I'm going to, okay, other than that, right? So in the done here, yeah, it's not having the good, so fine. So we're gonna check the solution file now, right? Moments API solution file is having LA1. Yes, it is having a wrong project file, LogicApps. Now we should have it, and let's see if that works. So once you correct this one, you may be able to see this one, discovering tests might work. So if you have only the project file, don't have solution file, then it does not work. So it through the solution file, it finds out and scans the project and see whether you have a C sharp test cases. So yeah, here you see that we have two things. So this is how you see the and debug it in the. Let's run it here, see if that works. Let's give some time and in codes. But if you have Visual Studio Code, this debugging part of .NET Core applications would be easy. So I would suggest like you can develop the applications inside code, LogicApps, whatever comes to LogicApps. Probably the function app debugging or any .NET Core application debugging. For example, this unit testing, we should have Visual Studio Code, sorry, Visual Studio itself. That then it will become easy. For instance, publishing into the NuGet, it can be done through NuGet command CLI, but still, if you're not comfortable, then Visual Studio Code is the right place, I would say. Let's wait for this one. Let's see what's happening in the output window as well. Terminal, new terminal, output. This is no problem. It was running fine. I don't know, for some reason it takes time, right? So let me stop this guy. How you can, so for example, if you have any problem you might want to check this function. You might want to end it, or the test that is hosting, right? Test, actually there are no tests, then it's not been started in until now. So let's end this function, this guy, then everything ends there. See, that ends there. Now I don't know, it gives a tick mark. I don't know what does it mean. It ran successfully or not, I don't know. Let's close this guy from the Visual Studio Code. Let's open it in the Visual Studio itself. I got a professional 2022 Visual Studio. I think this is a solid work, we are referring to two projects now. See, if you see the dependencies, which will be more visualizable. Like it has got LogicApps, and the package that we are getting referring to through NuGet is this one, testing framework. Now let's open this test cases. Go to the test explorer. Let's put a breakpoint. This works 100%. So if you can have this, that'll be best. So here is a test explorer. Now I'm going to kickstart it. Like it identified the test cases. Now I'm going to right click and say it's debug. Still yet to fetch the debug. Even this is taking more time, but I've seen that is working 100%. 100%, yeah. It executed and it didn't. One pass test, it didn't come back here because it's a stateless one. So okay, sorry, wrong. This one, right click, debug this guy. Yeah, it is in. It is about to end. Yeah, it's in. So this is what we are even passing this. Whenever you have new, that workflow name should be mentioned here, and that goes and fetches the workflow definitions. And if you want to send multiple, that is possible because it's accepting an array. And the local JSON file, hosting JSON file parameters that goes here, and this class accepts that. So I'm gonna press F5. So let's go through one by one side. So this HTTP client is actually creating a client request and sends that. It get a response. This response is 200. So this is successful. Now, what is the response of posting some value? So that is 200 even. What is the response and what is the output? The response for the code that we are, you remember the response of the API is code colon success, right? So that is what we are checking here, even that is successful. So this part, if we include it for stateless, it will be failing. For the stateful, it works fine because it is that the state is true. The reason the state is being stored in the as you write, right? So everything is successful. Let's run this through again. Let's press F5. So while running this one, you will be having this test host, right? If you found that it is not responsible, I mean not responsive, then just right click and end the task. You will get the services immediate. That's it. So now what we're going to do, we're going to see a simple test. Like if I'm going to include the same result for the service less, what happens? It will fail. That's expectation. I mean, it was failing, so it should fail. So here you go. I'm going to run the test cases. Okay. Here is I'm going to just run it or debug this one so that we make sure that it is coming in and it is failing there, right? So one thing is that if you want to run unit test cases for this stateless one, because it's going to be faster because it's not storing the state of the application anywhere, right? So mostly we go for the stateless one until and unless required, and it is asynchronous one we go for the stateful one. But in order to enable that, see, it's failing because it, it does not store anything, so this guy will return empty response, so it will fail. So there is no need of keeping this one. But for enabling this, we can keep an API which is having stateful one for unit testing. Barely that's the option we have right now. I think I have covered almost everything. So let's see the solution explorer if I remember anything. This is actually from the NuGet. And now we got a project which actually builds, but this is only for the unit test purpose. I didn't see any useful thing. We don't have to build it if you want to run LogicApp. We don't have to do that. So the Docker file, which it should be similar to the previous one we have, right? Meaning you don't have to build it and then transfer to the. So if you see the LogicApp 3, for instance, then it might have a Docker file. Yeah, we don't have to do this way. If you build it, you don't have to do that. Or if you do that also, there are no harm, but you don't have to basically build it. So let's go and look at the other project. For example, LA3. Say that LA23, right? That one we do have a Docker file. Yeah, this way. You don't have to build anything. You just have to create it and push it into a folder, then make the service runnable. That's it. Then it works beautifully in Docker. That's all for this video. Thank you very much.